This week we're looking at number 12 in the series on the book of Acts. This one's entitled Confinement in Caesarea, and it's all about Paul after his arrest there in Jerusalem is then taken to Caesarea, where he's kept under Roman guard because for fear of the Jews taking matters into their own hands. And in these chapters 24, 25, 26 in Acts, this is Paul's ministry coming to an end there in the book of Acts. It's just one more lesson to go before we reach the end of the book. And what I want to concentrate on is how Paul used this opportunity to preach the truth, to tell the truth about God, and to witness to the good news of Jesus and his salvation. And there in chapter 24, there's a discussion before Felix, the Roman governor of the time. And it's very interesting how it begins. There's a lawyer called Tertullus who's employed to be on the side of the Jewish leaders, and it's very interesting how he flatters Felix, especially at the end of that first paragraph. All of us throughout the country are so very grateful to you. And you think to yourself, yes, why would you be saying something like that except to be extremely flattering to the Roman governor? It's hardly true. I'm sure most of the Jewish people didn't think that. And then he proceeds to go and give those kinds of charges against Paul. And Paul is then given the opportunity to respond. And Felix says, oh, that's all very interesting. But because he wants to curry favor with the Jews, he leaves Paul in prison when he goes. And then Festus comes next. He has a trial with King Agrippa present and so on as you read through. And what I want to emphasize is how Paul again and again, despite being confined all those years in Caesarea and then in Rome and so on, still is talking about the God that he loves. I'm standing outside of Adaskivi Castle here in Estonia. And these castles were used as ways of forcing people to do what the Lord wanted. And that's been true throughout history. You build a fortress, a castle, a way of imposing your will on the people. And for those people who disagreed, you either took very extreme measures against them, capital punishment, or you put them in the dungeons. And that is the tragedy of the way in which we operate in this world, isn't it? We want to compel people to do what we want under the threat of force and even the threat of death. Paul is imprisoned. Eventually, of course, he goes to Rome and he's tried there. We don't know exactly what happens because the book of Acts finishes before the very, very end. But we do know that he testified, he witnessed, he spoke before kings and emperors, and he witnessed for the faith that he had. So despite him being locked up, imprisoned there in Caesarea and elsewhere, he still preaches the gospel. There's a message for us there, is there not? May God bless you as you study.